Y'all, welcome again to our beautiful State House, the most beautiful one in the United States. And I just returned from a trip to Arkansas, and they have a beautiful State House, but it's nothing like this one, and the mansion is nothing like this one. And the more I go and the more I see, the more I appreciate South Carolina. So I'd always remind everybody, urge the children to be proud of South Carolina, because this agreement was discovered by Bavarian psychiatrist Aloysius Alzheimer in 1901 and 1902, diagnosed. And since then, we've been trying to discover ways to eliminate it. And we have not reached that point yet, but I'm confident we will one day, perhaps by the time Karen reaches our age, perhaps we won't be having these conferences anymore. But we must persevere, and we're making progress. And in a moment, I will read a proclamation, but at this time, I'll call on Taylor Wilson of the Alzheimer's Association. Taylor?
Thank you, Governor, and thank you for everyone who's here today. I love to see a sea of purple in front of me because I know that we're raising awareness. There are 313,000 caregivers in South Carolina providing 352 million hours of unpaid care to loved ones with Alzheimer's. Some of them are here with us today. And there are former caregivers here who have watched their loved ones fade in a slow, painful goodbye at the hands of this disease that has no treatment, prevention, or a way to slow it down. Alzheimer's has 0 survivors. 92,000 people are facing this fatal diagnosis in the Palmetto State today. Focusing on those statistics can be disheartening. The journey to end Alzheimer's is arduous, yet we all have hope. Hope that together with our elected officials, state agencies like the Department on Aging, researchers, advocates, tireless fundraisers, organizations like Lisa's Care Connection, and brave families willing to share their stories, that we will live in a world without Alzheimer's. Today, we are honored to have our governor and our first lady show their support for families facing a dementia diagnosis and to proclaim June as Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. Support like this continues to fuel the optimism of the millions working in the fight to end Alzheimer's. It fuels our advocates who make the trip to Washington, D.C. each year to ask our members of Congress to support legislation to help those with Alzheimer's and to fund research that will lead us to our first breakthrough. Advocates like April Hamilton, she moved. Advocates like April Hamilton and her father, Larry Sullivan, and her brother Sean share the story of their mother and wife, Donna, struck down in her prime by this insidious disease. April and her family are here today for the future she carries in her arms right now, Callan, and her other son, Sully. Her family was devastated by this disease, losing Donna after her decade-long battle last year. And yet, here they are, standing with other families struggling. They stand here because they want to change the outcome for all other families hearing the fearful diagnosis, dementia, and to ensure that the next generation never has to face Alzheimer's. This show of support by our governor inspires industry leaders like Tyler Barton of Heartstrings Hospice. He didn't move. Who serves not only the families needing comfort as their loved ones progress rapidly through the end stages of this disease, but also sits on the Columbia Walk to End Alzheimer's Planning Committee. His drive comes from the families he works with, but also through his own experiences. Tyler watched his mother care for his grandmother through this disease, only to receive the same diagnosis later in her life, turning Tyler into a caregiver. And then there are granddaughters like myself, called to serve this cause in my career, taking my lunch breaks to go sit with my lady, my mama, who hasn't known my name in 4 years. It's her story, our love, that I share with each of our State House advocacy days every spring with my own elected officials like Representative Beth Bernstein, alongside 100 others with stories like mine. We have all stared into familiar faces just to see blank eyes with no recognition looking back, eyes that used to be filled with love. Yet we have hope, And with the leadership in our state honoring our caregivers and families by recognizing this cause and being willing to participate and help raise awareness so that all South Carolinians can know how much this cause matters, we know that the future without Alzheimer's is near. Thank you, Governor, for your continued support to this cause, and to our state legislators and our members of Congress for continuing to help in our fight to find our first survivor of this disease, while supporting caregiver respite and more, until we can find an end to Alzheimer's. We are grateful to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor. My name is Marty Colucci. I'm with Lisa's Care Connection. The facts are staggering. When you think about almost 40% of all adults are caregiving, the caregiving that encompasses taking care of someone with Alzheimer's is unbelievable, not only to the caregivers, but their entire family. So for you to be here today for Alzheimer's awareness and brain health is so very important, because we have to find a cure. And not only do we have to find a cure, we have to be able to support these families along these journeys. And the families are the ones that we surround, and we help not only educate them, but also with support groups and wellness programs. When we talk about brain health, we want to think about what can we do so we don't end up with Alzheimer's, right? And so this month, and certainly throughout, I challenge you to really think about what you're doing with your own health. You know, being what's good for your brain is also good for your heart. So it's eating right, it's sleeping right, your nutrition, but also is socialization, as well as connecting with others in that socialization, and education. Trying something new. Try to drive a different route to work. Play a different game. Challenge your brain will help those neurons keep firing in the right directions. So we would like just to honor all those that are living with, or in the future might end up with Alzheimer's, and let's fight against that. Let's continue this fight. They truly have the longest days. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a support. And remember, we're a free community center right here in our own town that is open to everyone, that we can help walk alongside this journey with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Ms. Colucci mentioned something, a world without Alzheimer's. I remember when I was very young, polio was all over the world, but we virtually have a world today without polio. And that is because organizations, private citizens, government, everyone determined that they were going to end polio. Well, one of these days, I'm confident we'll have a cure and a prevention for Alzheimer's. But until then, we have to keep working and do all we can. So as part of that, part of the awareness and the need that is represented by Alzheimer's, I have a proclamation that the First Lady will join me here. Beth, if you come over as well. Marty and State of South Carolina Governor's Proclamation. Whereas approximately 92,000 South Carolinians are living with Alzheimer's disease, a progressive disease that attacks the brain and results in impaired memory, thinking, and behavior. And whereas more than 5 million people in the United States are currently affected by Alzheimer's disease, making it the most common form of dementia. And whereas Alzheimer's disease is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States and South Carolina. And whereas, unless a cure or means of prevention is found for Alzheimer's disease, those impacted in the United States will grow from over 5 million to an estimated 16 million by the year 2050. And whereas an early and documented diagnosis of Alzheimer's or related dementia helps individuals and families access available medications, manage chronic conditions, engage in care planning, and connect family caregivers and support services. And whereas Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month provides an opportunity to recognize the efforts of the Alzheimer's Association to increase awareness of Alzheimer's disease and other dementias, to provide care and support to those affected and to advance critical research efforts to one day end this disease. Now, therefore, I, Henry McMaster, Governor of the great state of South Carolina, do hereby proclaim June 2019 as Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month throughout the state, and encourage all South Carolinians to honor the courage and dedication of the individuals, families, friends, and caregivers impacted by Alzheimer's disease and related dementia, as well as the tireless work of researchers who seek its cause, prevention, and cure. And it's signed by me, Henry McMaster, proud governor of the wonderful state of South Carolina, and present this to you, ma'am. And I say also, as our state motto says, while I breathe, I hope. While we breathe, we hope. And we are breathing and hoping and working to one day end this scourge. And